Hi everyone! In today's video, I wanted to show you all of my favorite watercolor supplies that I enjoy using to create my watercolor floral paintings. I will be talking about all my favorite watercolor paints, paper, and supplies that I use on a daily basis. Now don't forget to subscribe for more watercolor floral art content, and be sure to hit that notification bell to be notified and stay updated on my uploads. Now let's get into some fun art supplies. These are all the different types of watercolor paper that I use, ranging from notebooks to watercolor pads, watercolor blocks, full sheets of paper. So let's get started with the notebooks. So these two notebooks are considered like field journal watercolor notebooks. They're really great for traveling, to take on plein air paintings. And yeah, they're really awesome. I do a lot of like just some paintings in there and doing some painting swatches. I also have the Bockingford spiral notebooks. I wanted to try out a different brand of more high quality watercolor paper, and I got this at my local art store. Never tried Bockingford before, but I think the quality is really great after finishing this notebook. So I have two types here. I have hot press and I have a cold press paper. The difference between the two is that hot press is a more smooth paper, whereas cold press has texture on the surface of the paper. I prefer the cold press paper a little bit more just for the style of painting that I do. I really like how the water is absorbed by the paper a lot more than it does on the hot press. Next, I use a watercolor block. A watercolor block is really cool because the paper is gummed on all four sides, so you don't have to worry about the paper warping when you're doing a lot of washes of paint. You don't have to worry about using washi tape or anything to keep your paper down when you're painting. And at the end, you just need an X-Acto knife or a paint knife in order to carve the paper out from this block. So I think that's a really cool thing about the watercolor block. Next is the Stonehenge Aqua Cold Press black paper. This is the first time I ever used any sort of black watercolor paper. As you can see, most of the time it's a shade of white. So this is a really cool experience for me. I like using some metallic watercolors on black paper. I think it looks really awesome. And yeah, I have a really great experience using this type of watercolor paper. Next, I'm going to talk about the OG. This is the first watercolor paper that I use from Canson XL. It's a very affordable watercolor paper. You can find it in a lot of art stores like Michael's, Joann's, Hobby Lobby. It's fairly affordable, and so that's why I love using it as a practice paper. It is pretty high quality. This one is 300 GSM and 140 pound. This is kind of the things that I look for in a thick, high quality watercolor paper. Yeah, this one is great for practicing. And last but not least, I have these little sheets of watercolor paper that comes from some high quality watercolor paper that I got at the local art store. They come in really big sizes, and so what I did was I bought that, and then I went home and cut it up into smaller shapes and sizes. Each large sheet was around $6 or $7, so it's very affordable, and you can just, create your own shapes and sizes for $6 or $7. So I think that is a great way to try out some really great quality watercolor paper, but not for a really big price. So yeah, that's all the paper that I have. Alright, now let's move on to some watercolor paints, probably my favorite part. So this is my Reeves watercolor palette that I made using these watercolor tubes. This is my first ever watercolor tube set that I got when I was in college, when I was starting out with watercoloring. So that was probably about 6 years ago. So these are very well loved and very well used, as you can probably tell, but I just wanted to put these paint tubes in a palette that I can use. And so this is what the inside of the palette looks like. I create little swatch cards for every paint set that I have, just so I can see what the colors look like on paper, since sometimes it looks very different than how it is in the palette itself. So it's always great to kind of have a visual of what the paints look like and then label them. Yeah, so this is my first set of student grade watercolor paints. As I've continued my watercolor journey, I have kind of deviated from using this palette, but at one point in my life, this was the watercolor tubes that I was using for my paintings. Now, the second set of watercolors that I've ever bought is from Jerry Q. I got this set from Amazon for under $15. I think it's a really great price for how much paint you get and how cool the palette is itself. So when you open it up, I have my swatch card, but I really like that it has these two separate mixing spaces that you can detach and then attach it to the ends to create some more mixing spaces. So this set comes with 24 different colors. It also comes with a little water dish, a sea sponge, and a little brush here. It's a really great portable travel set. I really like just taking this set with me outside or if I'm ever traveling. But yeah, one of the best qualities of this set is the extended mixing area. So I love that. Next, I want to show you all of my other palettes that I've acquired over the years of doing watercoloring. So this next palette is from Paul Rubens. Let me zoom in. So this is from the brand Paul Rubens. This is a set of 12 watercolors that I also got from Amazon. And I love this brand because it is quite affordable and it's a very high quality watercolor paint set. Has 12 colors, so you have your primaries and you have some additional convenience colors right there, and it's a great travel friendly paint set. And I just love the pink color. Okay, the next set is another student grade set. This one is called the Mia Himi 24 color set. I also got it from Amazon, but it has 24 very vibrant colors. Here's the swatch card. And then it also has this extended mixing area too. So I really like this set. I love how all the colors are displayed like this. This set is one of my first artist quality paints that I got. So this set is from Etsy, from an Etsy seller. I think they're called Rosie Art Treasures. But I love purchasing some paints from Etsy, since a lot of art stores sell paints in tubes, especially like artist grade paints, and those tubes are kind of expensive, so I wanted to try a variety of different paints without having to spend so much money for each individual tube. So this Etsy seller had a set of Holbein artist grade watercolors, and they come in quarter pans, so it's a really great selection of different paints. And they're kind of like a sample size, so if I like a certain color, I may want to go back to the art store and buy the tube of it, but this set has lasted me quite a while, just because watercolor lasts quite a while, and I just love the variety of it, and the price point is very very reasonable for how much you're getting. So I love this set of Holbein. Okay. Next is another artist grade watercolor set that I have. These are my Daniel Smith paints. This tin is quite different. It is a very much DIY tin. This container is a gift card container that my mom got me for Christmas, but I repurposed it to carry all of my Daniel Smith paints. So I've been really getting into Daniel Smith watercolors. I think they're really great quality, kind of pricier, but for what it is, the paints are so vibrant, so creamy, and they just look so beautiful for the type of floral paintings that I do. So this, like I said earlier, this is a DIY palette. So I have here some like binder clips. Where did it go? Ain't going. Clips, but I use these binder clips to attach the lid on there, and so there you go. That's the palette. I swatched all the different colors. I have 3 more spaces for colors in the future, but overall I love my selection, and it is really awesome to have these types of paints. Okay, next is another DIY palette. However, this one is a gouache palette. So this gouache set is from Lucas Studio Gouache. I got this off of Jerry's Artorama. It was a really sweet deal, but this is my first time ever trying gouache. It was kind of interesting trying it the first time, since gouache acts as like the in-between of watercolor and acrylic paint. It has a slight consistency like acrylic paint, but you can dilute it with water to make it more transparent. So I think that's a really cool property of gouache paint. And then lastly, I have here 2 types of metallic watercolors. So this is my first set of metallic watercolors from Finetac or Calero. And this is the Gross Gold edition. As you can tell, I use a lot of that gold. It is so awesome, and I really like this set too. And then this set is from Paul Rubens as well. Maybe I kind of bought it just to match with this, but this set is full of metallic watercolors, and I just love all the different kind of colors that you get here, and I like to use it on black watercolor paper to create these really cool effects with my floral paintings. Yeah, so these are all the different paint sets that I have. Before I dive into the rest of my watercolor supplies, I wanted to show you this box. So this is a cigar box that I got at the local art store. I thought it was super pretty, and I've always wanted kind of a box like this to contain some of my Daniel Smith paints. So when you open this box, you will see my collection of Daniel Smith watercolor tubes, and yeah, so this is probably one of like my prized possessions, is this awesome box and my Daniel Smith tubes. Alright, we're almost in the home stretch. This is my set of some watercolor markers. I don't really use this too often since I don't really like working too much with these markers, but I got these as a gift, and they're in my set of watercolors. The next thing is a set of my watercolor pencils. Similar to the watercolor markers, I don't really use them too often because I prefer using my watercolor paints, but this is my collection. Let me zoom out a little bit. Zooming in. So yeah, so these are my Arteza watercolor pencils, as well as some Derwent ones. These are gifts that I've gotten from loved ones over the past years, and I really enjoy having all these colors. They look great. I just wish I used them a lot more and gave them a little bit more love. Yeah, so these are all the brushes that I use. These brushes I have acquired over the years of painting. Some are gifts, some I bought for myself. So yeah, these are all the brushes that I use. Thanks for tuning in to my watercolor supplies and collection video. I hope you learned a few things from watching me share my collection. Just know that you don't need expensive paints and paper to get started. You can acquire these things as you grow in your watercolor journey. Once again, thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel for more watercolor floral art content and click that notification bell to stay updated on my future uploads. If you have any tips and tricks about watercolor, feel free to comment below and let me know. Let's all learn from each other. Stay safe and take care, and I'll see you soon in my next video. Bye!